Fog blankets a rugged hill fort. Axes clash rhythmically against shields below. Above, warriors cling to a fading Roman legacy. If this hill falls, Britain falls with it. It's called Badon, a victory that halted an invasion, a battle lost to time's shadows. Centuries later, poets named its hero Arthur. But in AD 500, it wasn't about legends. It was about survival. When Roman legions abandoned Britain in AD 410, chaos didn't erupt overnight. For decades, Romano-Britons held on, collecting taxes, forming militias, sending desperate pleas to a crumbling empire. But Rome was dying, torn by barbarians and internal strife. What followed wasn't a sudden collapse. It was a slow fracture. And from the east sailed the Saxons. Raiders turned conquerors. Could one hill change everything? In AD 410, Emperor Honorius issued his famous rescript. Look to your own defenses. Roman troops withdrew, leaving Britain fragmented into petty kingdoms ruled by former officers, local lords, and tribal chiefs. The British monk Gildas, writing around AD 540, described a society in moral decay, but still fighting to preserve Roman ways. Latin in courts, coins stamped with imperial symbols. Yet villages burned along the coasts. Archaeological evidence shows hill forts like Liddington Castle reoccupied in this sub-Roman era, blending Iron Age defenses with Roman tactics. They didn't arrive as a unified army. They came in waves, Angles, Saxons, Jutes from modern northern Germany and Denmark, crossing the North Sea. Key event, around AD 449, British tyrant Vortigern invited Saxon mercenaries led by brothers Hengist and Horsa to fight Pictish invaders from the north. But the Saxons turned on their hosts. In AD 455, at the Battle of Aylesford, Vortigern's forces were defeated by Hengist, marking the start of permanent settlement. By AD 477, Ael founded the Kingdom of Sussex. Raids became migrations. Families, livestock, pagan idols of Woden replacing Christian crosses. Eastern Britain fell, Kent, Sussex, East Anglia. The question shifted from if the Saxons would win to when. Enter Ambrosius Aurelianus, a Romano-Briton of noble Roman descent, praised by Gildas and Bede as the organizer of British resistance. Around AD 429, Bishop Germanus of Auxerre led a Hallelujah victory against Saxons and Picts, a bloodless rout through prayer and ambush, possibly an early precursor to Badon. Ambrosius rallied fragmented forces, winning skirmishes and slowing the advance. By the late 5th century, the Saxons pushed westward, threatening the Celtic heartlands. The exact location remains a mystery. Debated sites include Bath, linked to Badon etymology, Liddington Castle in Wiltshire, a strategic hill fort with sub-Roman artifacts, or even Bomber in Lincolnshire. Date: around AD 500, Gildas ties it 44 years after the Saxons' arrival. Proposals range from 482 to 516. It wasn't an open-field clash, but a siege, as Gildas describes, the Siege of Mount Badon. A British force, outnumbered, held a fortified hill blocking the Saxon path into western Britain. Wales and Cornwall today. Gildas mentions no name, crediting the victory to divine favor after Ambrosius' efforts. Bede echoes this, placing it around AD 493, but in the 9th century Historia, Britannum by Nennius, a warrior named Arthur emerges, not a king, but a dux bellorum, war leader who fought 12 battles, culminating in Badon, where he single-handedly slew 960 foes. The 10th century Annales Cambriae adds mythic flair. Arthur bore Christ's cross on his shield for 3 days. Was Arthur real? Perhaps a title or composite figure? No contemporary evidence, but legends grew from this kernel. The leader likely used Roman-inherited tactics, elevated positions, disciplined infantry, and possible cavalry reserves. Echoing late Roman comitatus units, the Saxons encircled the hill, drawing on experience besieging Roman forts. Days, perhaps weeks, of stalemate. Britons rationing supplies atop the defenses. Gildas implies the Britons inflicted no small slaughter, turning the tables. In a possible reconstruction, Saxons launched assaults up the slopes, met by arrows and spears. Breaches were sealed with close-quarters combat, axes clashing shields. Then, a decisive counterattack. British forces broke out, routing the disorganized invaders. What made Badon legendary? The turnaround. Exhausted defenders didn't wait for a final assault. Instead, they charged downhill. Infantry in tight formation, perhaps supported by mounted reserves, rare but attested in sub-Roman Britain. The Saxons, scattered after failed attacks, panicked. Leaders fell, their lines crumbled. Pursuit led to a massacre, destroying much of the invading force, as Gildas calls it, almost the last great slaughter. Badon halted Saxon expansion for a generation, 50 to 60 years of relative peace in the West. Western Britain preserved Celtic and Christian culture, birthing Wales and Cornish identities. Without it, no Age of Saints or enduring Celtish traditions. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, 9th century, notes later advances under Ceawlin of Wessex around AD 560, but Badon bought time. A second Badon in AD 665, Annales Cambriae, may refer to a separate clash or scribal error. Centuries later, Geoffrey of Monmouth, AD 1136, wove Badon into Arthurian romance, a siege at Bath with Excalibur and Merlin's prophecies. But the real event was grittier. No knights, no magic swords. Archaeology offers no direct proof, but hillforts show defensive reuse. Debate rages. Was Arthur Ambrosius a local warlord, pure legend? Badon stands as a pivot from Roman Britain to Anglo-Saxon England. As the sun set over bloodied slopes, the Britons stood amid the wreckage. No chroniclers recorded the details, just exhaustion and fragile hope. Badon wasn't Rome's last triumph, it was Britain's defiant echo,